The Yeezy 700 Wave Runners just made their third release, which means we're going to be discussing whether you should sell or hold the Yeezy 700. Now, first things first, there's something I wanted to say. Thank you guys so much for all the support you guys showed in the stream. I had a ton of fun copying with you guys. Personally, I just stuck to copying the rare sizes because, as you can see, I already have a personal pair, so I got 3 4s and 1 12.5, but I kind of want to know what you guys got. So let me know down in the comments how many W's you guys got. Tell me what sizes you got. I don't know. I'm interested to hear. I probably would have went for more sizes, but if I'm being honest, September's kind of crazy, so I had to save some money. Alright, so let's just jump right into it. Before you decide if you're going to sell or hold these, first tell yourself, do you like these shoes? Because if you like the shoes, I would highly recommend just wearing them. I personally love wearing my pair of 700, so if you got a personal pair, like a personal size, I would suggest rocking it because shoes were meant to be worn, guys. But anyway, why don't we get started? To make this as accurate as possible, to kick it off, we're actually going to have to take a little trip back in time. If you have the shoe in hand right now and you don't plan on wearing it, sell it right now. Like, as you're watching this video, go ahead and list it on StockX or GOAT, whatever you need to do. I'm telling you, just get rid of it. And obviously, the reason I'm saying this is because no matter what size it's going to be, prices are at a point right now where they're sitting at around $700 to $800, and it's obvious to most of us who've been in the sneaker game for a while that prices will dip a significant amount. Alright, so now this made a lot of sense at the time. All pairs were sold on Adidas.com and Yeezy Supply. There were very few pairs at the time in circulation. So I said, sell as soon as possible because the price is evidently going to drop. And what do you know, they did. On March 5th, they were going for approximately $767, and I advocated if you had them in hand or if you were getting them very soon to get rid of them. Now right here is a screenshot of all the sizes the day after, around $600 to $700. So as you can see, there's already somewhat of a drop. Then 2 weeks after this, once all the pairs or almost all the pairs were in circulation, they were going for about $400 to $500. I'd say $450 to $500 would be accurate. So hopefully at the time you guys did sell as soon as possible because yeah, we were talking about these would rise over time, but there's always that time where there is going to be a trough right after the release, and we're going to discuss that more later. But this release is a little bit of a different story, and let me explain to you why that is. The reason this is because all pairs are already in circulation. In fact, prices were already lower before the release, before the 15th of September. They were lower compared to now after the release where they're slightly higher. Now, that's not to say after more pairs go into circulation, when shipments come in from Adidas and Yeezy Supply, you won't see somewhat of a drop, but it's not going to be significant like we've seen with past releases. The reason being is because there's already pairs in circulation. There's already a ton of pairs around there. So I'm just going to say it again so you guys completely understand this. Expect there to be a drop within the next week to 2 weeks. It's not going to be anything too significant, but expect the prices to go down just slightly. So since there was a ton of pairs already in circulation at the time, people dropped their prices below market value even though all these new pairs weren't in circulation yet because they were already expecting what was going to happen. It's like we already saw the drop happen. Hence, I believe that prices are already near their trough, at their lowest point. I think there is still some room for them to drop a little more like I mentioned previously, but it's not going to be much, at least compared to previous releases. In conclusion, I am going to be advocating that you hold all pairs. That means no matter what size you had, I think you should hold them because they're already at a very, very low point. Now, I completely understand, guys, that there is a ton of stock. I get it. There was a ton of stock from this release in combination with the previous release, so there's a lot of pairs of these 700s going around right now. But the Beluga 2.0 had 90,000 pairs in US alone. This was the most stocked Yeezy of all time. But anyway, my point is, regarding the Beluga 2.0s, they had initially gone for $350 about 1 to 2 weeks after the release, this being their lowest point because all pairs were in circulation at that time. The release date for these was November 25th, so as you guys can see, the picture I'm showing on the screen right now, at around like $360, $370. This was about like 1 to 2 weeks after the release. Now just look at the chart for a second. I want you guys to see this very closely. This is how almost every single sneaker reacts in the market after a drop. Now, not all sneakers, but the majority of highly coveted sneakers. So it will go from extremely high to when there's barely any pairs in circulation to then a steady drop since there is an influx in pairs. Now, after that trough, after there's that lowest point for quite a decent amount of time, there is somewhat of a linear rise. Now keep in mind, this is a very, very slow rise. Reselling is a game of patience, guys. Now, we won't actually see this thing occur when it comes to the 700. We won't see that incredible drop that we saw with the Beluga 2.0s. Instead, we're gonna see just a small drop because there were already, like I've been saying, a ton of pairs already out there. People already dropped their prices ahead of time. So again, expect that small rise in time, but over time, these shoes, the 700 Wave Runners, are going to increase in price over time. People are saying that it's only because it's an OG colorway. Oh, these shoes are gonna rise because it's an OG colorway. And you know what? That makes sense. In fact, it's one of the greatest perks to this shoe. This shoe is definitely going to rise more in comparison to other Yeezys because it's an OG colorway. But regardless of that, there's a lot of shoes out there that aren't OG colorways that are highly coveted that still have linear increases in price. In fact, it was the 700s that we saw somewhat of a linear rise over them, and only within a matter of 5 months before we heard news of a third release coming, they had risen already $100 within that 5-month period. Now imagine if you were to hold these shoes for around a year and there was no re-release at all. That'd be pretty incredible. So some things that you will expect though is that the small sizes, for instance, like a 4, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, all those good sizes, even a 12.5 and 14 and up, all those rare sizes, the ones that I told you to buy in my stream, on Twitter, and on my recent video, those are the ones that are going to see the most increase in price. Of course, with the more common sizes, those are still going to be profitable, but you won't see as much of a rise. For instance, like a size 10, you're going to see more of a rise with the size 4.5 in comparison to the size 10, even though the 4.5 is already higher. Regardless, though, you're still going to see somewhat of an increase. So I think the soonest that you should be selling these sneakers would probably be around the holidays, just because if you really need to get them off your hands within a couple of months, the holidays is a fantastic time because demand increases on every single sneaker, or just in general, every single product in the world, because demand always increases around the holiday season and stock is going to stay the same. Now, there is one risk to this, of course. The risk being that Kanye West is unpredictable. The Yeezy market now has no stability because this man just decides to re-release pairs that already released. He decides to restock pairs that already released just out of nowhere. You really can't tell when this is going to happen. But the good thing is Yeezy Mafia usually does let us know a couple of months ahead of time. So when you do hear news of a restock or a re-release, I would suggest selling that day or perhaps a week after, because that day is usually the worst, but a week after you should be fine selling them. So that would be the only risk to this. Of course, if he did decide to restock these again for a 4th time, being a 4th re-release or something crazy like that, I don't think this is going to happen because we are seeing a new 700 colorway coming out, which actually might assist the demand for this sneaker because that will definitely make this more considered an OG colorway since it now has 2 colorways in this silhouette. So yeah, I think he's probably not going to restock these or re-release these again, but if he does, you guys know, just sell on that day or around that day. So I'm going to restate this one more time just to make sure we're 100% clear. Expect a small drop in price around 1 to 2 weeks after me publishing this video, when all pairs are in circulation, but after that there should be somewhat of a linear rise, just very slow. Anyway, this is just from my perspective. I just wanted to share my perspective along with my experience with you guys. You guys make the decision on your own. I trust that you guys know what you're doing too. So these are just suggestions. Take everything I say and anyone says with a grain of salt. I guess I will conclude that on that note. Feel free to do whatever you want with the pairs, but again, those are just my opinion. Now, the final thing I wanted to mention for this video was that the off-white Blazers did not drop. Now, I made a video where I stated that they would not drop because of the phone call I had with the Nike employee, who honestly sounded like there was nothing scheduled for shock drop on the 15th. So I guess it turned out to be true. They were delayed, but now a lot of you guys are wondering what's going on with the Halloween Blazers, the Serena off-white Blazers, and honestly, guys, there is no accurate information on these. Everything is conflicting. Even when it comes to the Nike reps, everything they say is all over the place. So honestly, the only thing you can do is just stay super alert, and I know this sucks because you will have to turn on post notifications for Soul Links, and I know, guys, it's super stressful because they tweet out very, very often a bunch of discount stuff, and it can be a nuisance. For that, I actually decided to go search out for some Discord groups, and I found a lot that I would suggest. Now, keep in mind, none of these groups paid me anything to say this. They did not even tell me to say any of this, but some of the groups that I found to be pretty useful would include Fake Success, Soul City, SG Cooks, Unlimited Cooks, and Be Cantha Sub. There's a bunch more. I would definitely have to look into them. The only reason I'm not mentioning those is because I'm not in those groups, so I wouldn't really feel comfortable advocating anything unless I see it for myself. So far, everything I've seen with these groups, everything is definitely great. I would suggest it. It's a great community feel when you're in there. Also, super fast monitors in there. But I still think you'll be fine when it comes to Solinks' Twitter. It's just, do you want to have to deal with all those extra tweets? Because I know a lot of you guys were complaining to me about that. So it's honestly up to you. You guys do whatever you want. But with that, I'm going to conclude today's video. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, if you perhaps learned a thing or two. Feel free to share your opinion on this matter down in the comments below. I'm actually interested to hear what you have to say about whether you should sell or hold the Yeezy 700s. But feel free to subscribe, turn on post notifications if you happen to be new, just to stay 100% updated on every single hype sneaker. With that though, I'll see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
Yo, get your foot out of my foot, yo. I'm the one that started all the whole song. While Joaquin is taking all the credit.
Oh, by the way, Take Rise is a big liar, and I created the song because Chris Delbo, he started.